Joining us on the program right now, Senator Chuck Grassley, fresh from the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Well, listen, I hope I never turn you down when you ask me to be on your program, but I'm glad to be asked this time.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to join us. I know it's been a very busy day for you here, almost 4 hours of testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And let me ask you just an open-ended question. What are your thoughts now, having witnessed and heard from both sides, all morning and most of the afternoon?
Let me give you a short answer, and if you want a longer answer, tell me.
Sure.
I think one of the highlights of it was the fact that I didn't think that Senator Feinstein got the support for her legislation that she thought she would, or the audience that was so massively filled by people that were anti-gun who thought maybe it would be.
I would agree with that, and to that end, Senator, let me just ask you, because it seems like we've got the legislative debate going on. We also have the cultural debate. We've seen the media, I think, in a lot of cases, misrepresenting the views of gun owners, as well as in some cases, as we witnessed yesterday with MSNBC, deceptively editing footage of a hearing on gun violence in Connecticut. Actually, sort of making up news, trying to portray gun owners in a bad light. And one of the things that we've seen from your colleagues in the Senate who support these gun control measures is almost this scolding that if you don't agree with these gun bans, if you don't agree with these magazine limits, if you don't agree with these quote-unquote universal background checks, that you don't like kids, that you love your guns more than you love your children, and that you want to see more massacres like what happened at Sandy Hook occur.
It'd be one of those things if gun control laws work, outlawing guns work. It'd be one thing if they did work, but we have the evidence from 94 through 2004 that they don't work. You have the Columbine killing during that period of time. And so you get to what will work. And, of course, see, everybody's hiding behind gun control, gun ban. It's not easy to look at the other things. But if we can keep people that shouldn't have guns, and we all agree that there's some people shouldn't have guns, felons for one, people with mental health problems otherwise, maybe even straw purchasers ought to be prosecuted, as an example. Keep people from getting guns that shouldn't have guns, we'll have less killing. In fact, one of the biggest proponents of guns at our hearing today, the Baltimore police chief, or whatever his rank was, he spoke in terms of that's the place to stop all this violence, is make sure that the database has a requisite number of people in it, the legitimate number of people in it, where the law says you can't own a gun, and if you're in there, you won't be sold a gun. Now, that same person could steal a gun, as happened in a couple of these instances that we use as an example. Or you can even have people that are legally buy a gun, still do these stupid things,
Right.
So it isn't. Nothing's going to be foolproof.
No, absolutely. I was talking yesterday with the sheriff of Los Animas County, Colorado. All 62 county sheriffs in Colorado have signed a position paper stating that they want to see a 1-year moratorium before there's any discussion of gun control legislation at the state or at the federal level. But one of the things that he said is that we see these guys time and time again commit these crimes. We make the arrests, and then they get the plea bargain. They're back out on the street, and they're committing more violent crimes. He really said we've got the laws. What we need is the enforcement of the laws that are currently on the books. We need these guys to know that if they commit a crime, they're not going to walk out a couple of weeks later a free man.
Just think of the 500 or more people that died in Chicago last year, and probably the guns that killed them would not be banned under this law. And also, it's a wonderful opportunity for the president, being from Chicago, and also being African American, because so many of these killings are black on black. With just a little bit of presidential leadership, you could probably cut down on more killings just in Chicago. than this ban that's proposed by Senator Feinstein would accomplish.
Well, I have to agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been looking at the crime in Chicago, and my family before I met my wife and my two oldest kids, they lived in Camden, New Jersey, another city home to very restrictive gun control laws and a very high violent crime rate, a lot of gang violence, and you could I guess the attitude is, well, if we just put these laws on the books at the federal level, then somehow it'll be different than what we've seen at the local level or at the state level in places like Chicago. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I think you got all the statistics to back you up. So I do. And another thing, you previously said that there was an instance in Iowa about one of our congressmen had a meeting with sheriffs and police chiefs, and this article in the newspaper that I inserted in the record said that mental illness is more important than banning guns or clips, and solving that mental health problem would do more good. And they did complain, though, that their county jails tend to be the only place where you take care of these people, but they don't get the proper treatment that they need. So we have to work in that area of making sure that there is treatment for these people.
Did you hear, Senator, any testimony today, whether it was from Chief Johnson or Mark Kelly or anyone else, that it sounds like you didn't hear anything today that changed your mind when it comes to the effectiveness of gun control or the need for Senator Feinstein's legislation?
No, but I did sense something that I wasn't sure about. Would this proposal to ban or to prosecute straw buyers, would that have enough of a consensus that we ought to pass it? And I think that I found out today that there was a consensus for that.
To go after straw purchasers, those who are buying firearms for those who are not legally allowed to own them.
Yeah. Now, isn't it ironic that this administration that fomented Fast and Furious on our country and sold 2,000 guns illegally that went across the border into Mexico, probably leading to the murder of 200 people, and on this side of the border, at least for Border Patrol agent Terry, that this is the very same administration that wants to ban guns when they were selling guns. They promoted the sale of guns. And 2,000 guns, maybe we got 500 of them back, but 50 years from now, some of those guns will be out there killing people.
And again, you're still waiting for answers. We've got the lawsuit over on the House side trying to compel the administration to release documents related to Fast and Furious because they've still not been forthcoming about that.
Yeah, and we're up against an administration that 4 years ago, when they were sworn in, announced that they were going to be the most transparent administration in the history of our country, and they're turning out to be the most opaque.
Well, we were also told for 4 years that President Obama was supportive of the Second Amendment. We were told that gun owners didn't have anything to worry about. We were told Wayne LaPierre was crazy for saying that Barack Obama wanted to enact gun control legislation. And again, even before Inauguration Day, the president had released his gun control proposals.
Yeah. I think one of the problems we have with this whole deal of assault weapons, and why maybe polls show people in favor of some legislation in this area, is that everybody thinks that an assault weapon is a submachine gun, that you pull the trigger once and it shoots out 50 bullets, as opposed to pulling the trigger each time you want to shoot a bullet. And so they see it as spraying guns or spraying bullets all over, see.
Senator, I'm glad that you brought that up, because there actually was a poll today, a Reason Roop poll, that asked an open-ended question of those responding: what is an assault weapon? And it's fascinating answers. 29% described fully automatic machine guns. 27% described it as any gun that fires rapidly. 23% focused on the size of the magazine, and 17% described them as any gun having the ability to fire multiple rounds. So I think you're absolutely right about the American public not understanding what the made up definition of a quote unquote assault weapon is.
Yeah, and these semi-automatic pistols can do as much damage as an AR-15 or whatever you call it. Say one other thing. You asked me what we learned. I think that Gail Trotter's testimony on the ban I think she made a very compelling case that so-called assault weapons are good for self-defense, especially by women. And she pointed out how women, maybe being less muscular or can't defend themselves quite as easily. The guns are probably more important for women than they are even for men.
Well, we've had Gail Trotter on this program before, and we've heard this argument. We've heard from other women who say that a rifle in their hands is what they are most comfortable with. I talked to a woman just the other day who said that she has problems with her hand, and it's very difficult for her to actually use a pistol for self-defense. She wants a rifle for self-defense. It's going to be easier for her to protect her children. But again, it seems like the other side doesn't want to hear that. They ask the question of, why do you need a gun like this for hunting, even if the answer is, well, I may never use it for hunting, but I still have a right to own one.
Yeah. There's another point that we ought to touch on here, and that is the constitutionality, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and everybody is for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, assembly, and all of those sort of things. That's the First Amendment. It doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, 3 through 8 or whatever it is. They all have equal value, and the Second Amendment cannot be stripped of any components or value any more than the First Amendment can be.
Talking with Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. Senator, one more quick question for you. What are you hearing from your constituents right now?
Well, whether I went to high schools, over the last 2 weeks when we weren't in session, I went to 5 or 6 high schools. I went to a couple businesses. I had an open town meeting. There were some other meetings I had, but let's just settle for those 7 or 8. It came up in every one, and I don't believe even among young people, they ask a lot about it. I don't know that anybody said that we ought to ban any guns, but even when I'm in church on Sunday in Cedar Falls, Iowa, or at the Village Inn in Cedar Falls, Iowa, for after church brunch, people come up and said, "Don't let them take our guns away from us." Yeah, people are fearful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think so. And, look, based on Senator Feinstein's legislation, I would say that they have every right to be concerned.
Yeah.
Senator, thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thank you very much. Glad to be with you.